start first. So we talked a little bit like back in 2014, was it when you started editing?
Yeah, like professionally.
So what are the biggest differences between then and now in the professional level? Like how are things different?
I would say the biggest difference is the sheer amount of people and talent entering the scene. It's it's definitely hard to say like if things are better or worse right now for editors. Like over the past few years, there's definitely more opportunities than ever. That is for sure. But also there's just more editors than ever. And I think right now being someone's editor, as in like a popular streamer, is kind of like the biggest goal for a lot of people. You being so heavily involved in content creation, almost every editor, including myself, we just want recognition as well. And that's been a huge change in that now we're getting it. You know, editors have their own followings now. There are people who genuinely aspire to be the ones behind the scenes as well, not just the big streamer. And I think that's, to me, been the biggest change just in the way it's perceived. And like, it's normal to talk about someone's editor now, which just didn't really happen before.
Oh yeah,
People just
yeah.
only saw the content for what it was.
Coming from the outsider's perspective, a lot of people didn't know that streamers had editors for a long, long time.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
everyone just thought, because there were people who went out there and made their own content. Like the
Mm-hmm.
streamer would edit their own content and upload it to
Most,
YouTube.
most content creators did that for like,
Yeah, for a
only really
long
in the
time.
past few years has that been a thing where people have hired editors. Yeah.
Yeah, so for the longest
So,
time, the viewers would come into the channel and be like, "Oh, I love the editing. You did such a good job." And whether out of just not able to answer every comment or whatever the reason is,
yeah.
the misconception wouldn't really get corrected by a lot of people
Yeah.
who had editors. Sometimes, if they're
Mm-hmm.
lucky, they'd have like a little thing down in the description edited by like a Twitter handle or something like that. But there would be not a lot of recognition on that. But nowadays, I see editors sometimes have their own production tag at the beginning of the show or at the end of the
Yeah.
show. They'll have
That
a
was something
top
that,
billing. Yeah.
yeah, that was something that started, and it was something that I did for a while when I was making league videos. I eventually decided on not doing that just as my own personal choice. I just didn't enjoy really having my own tag at the beginning. But at the same time, when I was doing it, it was something I valued a lot because it did kind of give you a sense of like, I made this and I'm proud of it. And, having like a cool little animation at the beginning was honestly kind of like, I know for a lot of editors, it just became like people would associate their song and like be excited when a certain editor was on this video because they knew their intro and stuff. And like, that's cool. I think that's really cool. Obviously the client has to be comfortable with that. And like, just inserting yourself into content is never the right move. Like you can't, as an editor, you do have a job to do, I believe. And if you're on good terms and you are comfortable with your situation, I think if you want to, insert a tag or something, that's something that needs to be talked about. It's not something that you can really just throw into a video. And I definitely did that before, and that's why I stopped, like, because I realized like I haven't really talked to anybody about this. I feel like I'm sort of inserting myself into this content, and it was just something that I felt I didn't really want to do anymore. But also I'm glad I did it, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like it's it definitely gives a lot of people a better sense of what they're watching and what they can expect when an editor is, associated in that way with the channel. Because I know like a lot of people love Dan, like Orneda's intro. Like they just knew that it was going to be a good video whenever Dan's intro popped up. That's not what I always knew. And so like, working on channels with multiple editors, it is kind of cool to have like a little tag for yourself to set your videos out from the others. So it's stuff like that has been a huge change in that, like, that I don't think that would ever have happened. I mean, people just didn't have editors, so it's all very brand new. This is all
That's
kind of
what's so
happened
exciting. This is part of the reason why I asked you to come on the podcast. Not just because I thought you'd be an excellent guest because you're just an awesome guy, but like
thank you so much, man.
this industry is brand new. Like people have been editing forever.
Oh yeah.
But editing for like YouTubers and streamers, that's a fairly new industry in itself. And
It's
being a dedicated editor for that person, that's like 5-10 years max that's been around. So
Mhm.
people are still
It's
figuring out like the rules of this whole thing.
Yeah, and honestly, that's I think probably what has caused a lot of, even the streamers, editors, everyone is new to this, and it's
Mhm.
probably been the biggest reason that there's been so many cases of people being mistreated in ways, or like just not having good situations for themselves whatsoever, because streamers also don't have experience in managing or paying, or like doing that is such a task that I don't think a lot of like streamers really realized at first. And so there was definitely a big period where stuff was a lot more unprofessional just in general. But times have been changing, and I think a lot of organizations, which is good, have been stepping in to handle stuff like that for players. Like if players sign to an org, the org will usually handle paying the editor, um, and handle like getting them set up, but then the editor will have direct contact with that player. That's been my experience, and I believe that's been the experience of a lot of other editors working with organizations, which I think is the best way to do it. As trusting a streamer who's just in their 20s, just playing games, they just want to do their own thing. And if they don't want to worry about running a YouTube channel, they don't really want to worry about managing payments and all this stuff. So it's really nice to have orgs step in now and handle that stuff for people, because that was a big problem for a long time.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, that's probably another big change that I kind of forgot to talk about, was just organizations in esports kind of taking on that role of getting that stuff handled and making sure that nobody's getting mistreated.
Yeah.
Although
They're
people
basically
still
they're
do.
basically like talent agencies at this point.
Pretty much, yeah. Like, the org is really just there to connect the talent together. Like, they find a good editor, they have a good streamer, put them together, and you've got great content. And that's kind of the formula, it seems like, for most successful orgs right now.
Yeah, and we've seen a big rise in orgs signing on people who aren't professional players in the past few years.
Yes.
Previously, a lot of people were just like really good at the game. It was just like, hey, we're going to
Mm-hmm.
bring on, just to use TSM for an example, we're going to bring on Bjergsen,
Yep.
and we're going to bring on whoever else. And they're going to have editors and they're going to make content. But now we see people who don't even play games or don't even play a lot of games coming on as
Yeah.
streamers for these organizations.
Yeah, man. It's, the content creator role is, I think, super valuable to orgs now. And I love that you don't really necessarily need to be a competitive player to have a place on an org now, because I mean, there's a lot of people like Myth, who I work with, he started out as the young architect in Fortnite, and had a brief period of, playing competitive in Fortnite, but realized that wasn't what he wanted to do. And he's transitioned now into just being a content creator, really. And I mean, I personally enjoy working with a content creator more than I do like a professional player, just because I enjoy what I'm making more, like
Mhm.
the content's funnier. I I've always enjoyed making funny videos more so than serious or montages. Even though montages have always kind of been my thing, I think my passion really does lie in like just making funny shit. Like, I really just love cutting a video of someone who is funny. If I can make them funnier in any way just by my cuts, I feel it's very fulfilling to me. And someone like Myth, I feel like I get to do that a lot, because he's just a naturally really funny dude. And then through editing, I get to just kind of like nail his stuff home just a bit harder. Like, nail the funny stuff he says just a bit harder so it translates to YouTube, but not really doing too much. That's always been my approach to editing, is like not adding too much, but just adding enough so that it feels like a cohesive video. And you know pacing and stuff is very important when it comes to like a funny video and stuff. So
Yeah. And I think it's so much easier to reach a broader audience as a entertainment personality rather than just as a professional player. Because to use like
mm-hmm.
Faker for example, or a very good League player, you can come in and watch Faker's stream, and if you don't really know what's going on in League, even if you have like a cursory knowledge of League of Legends, you probably
Mm-hmm.
won't really understand what's going on. He's not a very vocal guy. He's Korean,
Yeah.
so there's also the
Yeah,
language
he's not.
barrier.
Yeah.
Um, so you like the average person going to his stream, if they don't appreciate League of Legends, they're not going to really appreciate him as a content creator. But for
Yeah,
somebody like Myth,
absolutely.
I don't like Fortnite. I'm not really a Fortniter or whatever Myth's doing these days, but I
A
still
Fortniter. One of those Fortniters.
I'm not a Forter. But I still can appreciate content that every time Spooks puts out a little clip on his Twitter of like the video, I always watch it. I'm like, oh, it's pretty funny. It's a funny guy right there.
Yeah, man. Like
it's just like you don't have to like the game to enjoy the content.
Yeah.
It's just so it's a huge advantage.
Yeah, and taking it back to like just editors, I think finding a fulfilling job where you just enjoy working with the content that you have is a big difference. I've worked jobs where I hate the content that I'm making. Well, not hate. I've never hated the content that I make, or I wouldn't work those jobs. But stuff is tedious. Sometimes as an editor, and sometimes you just kind of bite the bullet and get through it. But it does take a lot out of you creatively. So finding like a client that you genuinely just like, you enjoy their content and you just want to make it better, it's like, it's easy past that point.
Definitely. So generally speaking, and we talked a lot about this, but generally speaking, just in summary, things have gotten better over the past decade.
Yeah, I would absolutely say so. Yeah, like 100% better. And, opportunities just exist now that didn't exist 5 years ago. And being able to work remotely as an editor and just work with literally anyone in the world, because YouTube is a global platform and you can pretty much go down any avenue you want right now, and that's really exciting.
Is there anything
I could transition?
And anything in your mind, has anything gotten worse over the past? Have you seen anything like, oh man, I wish it was the way it used to be?
I guess just I'm always nostalgic for the old spirit of content creation, but I know that that's probably something that's not gonna really come back, as YouTube has kind of transitioned in more of like a business for a lot of individuals. I mean, including myself. It's literally my livelihood now, so I can't really treat it as I want to. But the spirit of content creation just 5 years ago was totally different, and I do miss the feeling of like making something I'm super proud of, being able to post that on like the League of Legends subreddit, and even if it doesn't get views or it doesn't whatever, just like one comment of someone saying, "Hey, I've never seen your content before, but this is really dope." Like little feelings like that I really miss, because now it feels like you just kind of get lost in the wave of everything that's going on, and there's not really that many organic moments like that. So I do miss stuff like that. But also stuff like that, I'm sure I could get back in my personal life just by creating more content for myself. But instead, I do mostly just work. So it's, again, finding the balance. I think everyone needs to find the balance in order to get that. But yeah. I really miss the way things, the general vibe, I guess I'll say, of being on YouTube has changed dramatically in the past like 3-4 years.
Yeah, and there was an exceptionally dark, not dark, but an exceptionally time where this was true. I think a year or so ago, there was pretty much nobody making like the old school videos anymore. But I think we've seen a little tiny bit, nothing near where it's been, but we've seen a small resurgence of like the old school, just me and my friends hanging out content, not stream highlight content.
And you know what's actually is going to be a big effect on this, and something that I just saw on Twitter the other day, was that I honestly didn't verify this. I only saw it on Twitter, but apparently YouTube is changing their 10-minute limit on having.
Oh yeah.
Right now, you need to hit a 10-minute mark to get mid-roll ads. And if people don't understand, the reason we called our podcast the mid-roll was because that is literally the most important thing on YouTube right now, is getting the amount of money that you make on a YouTube video. If it's 9 minutes and 59 seconds, is like 5 times less than what you would have if it was 10 minutes and 1 second, because those mid-roll ads just give you quadruple the money, essentially. That's just the way it is on YouTube right now. And operating as a business, nobody's going to tell you, hey, don't hit that 10-minute mark. It's always going to be, we need to hit this 10 minutes. And so content has suffered for a while, because I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've made a video that I feel is perfect at 8 minutes, but it needs filler. It needs to hit 10 minutes. And I'm not going to just like throw in like an end screen for 2 minutes. I'm going to actually put content in it, but it's not going to be the content that I originally wanted to showcase or whatever. So stuff like that has definitely made things significantly worse. But I think this 8 minute change, if it goes through, is going to be actually really huge for YouTube and for content. I'm really excited to see how it's going to like, if the monetization will stay the same. I really don't know what effect it's going to have, but I do like the idea of not having to hit 10 minutes every time. It's very exciting.
This was something that I learned just the other day. I was watching, I think, a YouTube video from Alpha Gaming. He's a guy who does a lot of educational content about streaming and stuff on YouTube.
Yeah.
And something that I learned, I've been a YouTube Premium. They've changed the name like 7 times, but I've been a YouTube Red, YouTube Premium sub for like 2 years now, or however long it's been around. Because I don't like ads, but I don't want to just be like the guy who just like ad block.
Me too.
And I have a family plan, so it costs me like $3 a month or something ridiculous.
Nice.
So it's cheap. I don't see ads. I don't ever see anything like that. But apparently, and it was like awesome to hear this. My view is worth like 50 to 100% more to a streamer.
Yeah.
Than just a normal person viewing like all the ads, which was like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I like the way that they did that system, and I've been a YouTube Premium subscriber for a while too. I guess once you start, I couldn't bring myself to use AdBlock anymore once I realized that my entire livelihood was based on it. But I still hate ads. I hate them. And I hate that they need to be included in your content for it to be possible for you to do this as a living, but you have to. And that's I like that there's this option that actually does benefit the creators too. It's been really nice.
Yeah, so if you're a YouTube, or if you're a viewer who wants to support all the people you want to support, but you can't afford like $5 a month for every single person that you watch, just get a YouTube Reds or a YouTube Premium subscription. Get a family plan with some friends. It's really cheap.
Truly,
if you get some people on it with you, and you
can also. The biggest reason I got it was honestly so I could play videos when my phone's locked, because I love listening. Like that's honestly the biggest thing for me.
They have
this is a YouTube Premium ad now.
Yeah, YouTube Premium. Thanks for sponsoring the show. Check out
thanks so much.
But for real though, they also have Google Music, which is shutting down. It's transitioning to YouTube Music.
I didn't even know that. Okay.
I don't know when they're gonna do it, but they're transitioning to the YouTube Music app, which I'm not really happy about, but as long as the functionality is similar, I'm not really going to care. It's a lot. It's a lot of stuff to just fit into one fairly cheap subscription service. So check it out if you haven't already. I think it gets a bad name because for some reason YouTube Red, and this is probably why they rebranded, was YouTube Red had like a really bad taste in people's mouths for some reason. I don't know why.
I definitely never subscribed to it when it was YouTube Red. That's for sure. I've only ever subscribed to it as YouTube Premium. So
I think maybe because they were trying to push this like YouTube Red only content for a while, and that never really took off. And that's probably why people were like, I'm not subscribing so I can see a new Ray William Johnson video every week or something like that. I don't know. He doesn't make videos
I remember that.
Years, but
that content never really had an effect on many people, I don't think.
Yeah.
Outside of their core audiences. So yeah.